Hello, today I'm going to be talking about my Strand project for Education 323. The SOL I used to focus on this for this strand, which is Geometry, grades 3 through 5, is SOL 3.11, which states the student will identify and draw representations of a point, a line segment, ray, and an angle. And then it also has on the cover the national standard, which is in grades 3 through 5. Each and every student should build and draw geometric objects. So when you open the binder, what's going to appear first is the rubric for the binder, and then after that is the unpacking of the standards. We have a curriculum concept map, which I have gone through, and I have squared in all of the verbs and then underlined all of the nouns that a student will need to do. And this comes into play when students are unpacking the standard. What an unpacking the standard does is it has what the SOL is, and then it has the nouns, which is what would students need to know, so the nouns of what they're going to need to know, and then next comes what would students need to do, which is the verb from the curriculum concept, and then a cognitive level, which is from Bloom's taxonomy, and the background knowledge, which is what students are going to need to know to be successful or what they will be learning. And to help break this down even more is going to be the concept map. Just breaks down to different parts. So after the unpacking the standards is going to be the note-taking device. In here, I will be placing my note-taking device, and then there's an explanation of this device. So for my note-taking device, I have created a note-taking foldable, 2 foldables in one. On this side is going to be the vocabulary and key terms and their definitions on each tab that students will be filling out throughout the lessons of this strand. And over here is going to be the tabs that students are going to be opening and closing so that they can see a visual representation of, oh, this is what this looks like. So for example, a point, they're going to be told open tab 1. So they're going to open tab 1, and look, there's a point right here. And this is what it looks like at the end of a line, if it was to be on there, which is called the end point. So this is going to be for everyone. It's going to tell them what tabs. The tabs over on this side are labeled, and they're going to be able to use this throughout the lessons. After the note-taking explanation is going to be the tiered activities for above grade level, below grade level, and at grade level. For the students that are above grade level, this is going to be more of a challenging level. They're able to do a little bit more things that are not so much at their grade level, and they're going to be creating a roadmap of a new city, and they're going to take what they learned, so the definitions, and then be like, and the visual representation, like, oh, I know what a line is. I'm going to create a line drive because it's a road that goes on forever. Or Ray Road, oh, I'm going to have this be an end route, like there's no outlet, and it's going to be that array because it ends here but goes on forever in one direction. And then line segment lane is a line segment because it ends on both sides. And then to incorporate points, they're going to have to name 3 points of a place. So this person put home, mom's work, and a school. And to integrate angles into it, a student's going to have to put a star at every single angle and then identify the vertex. For students that are at grade level, they will be completing an around the room activity. An explanation is provided in here as well as questions. And so essentially what the students will be doing is just walking around the classroom answering questions. So on the top of the question is going to be the question that they're answering, and the answer to that question is going to be on a different card around the room that they will go to next. That way they can do a guess and check as they're going. And then for the students that are below grade level, they're going to be working with the teacher at the teacher table. The teacher will need to put butcher paper on the table and have students draw what she says or write the word of a definition of what the key term might be. And again, an explanation of all this is provided in this section of the binder. And after that comes the folder game. Our folder game, there's an explanation of lines, rays, angles, oh my. And that's all explained right here, as well as the pieces to the board game, and the board game itself will be in the binder as well. On the board game, we have the directions, and then what the actual board game looks like. The spinner, which tells the students how many spaces they get to move, and the SOL to make it easier when filing it, to be like, oh, I need the game board for SOL 3.11. Go to my filing cabinet, and it's right there because it's on the back. The game pieces for this are going to come and play when students land on a draw space, a question space, or a challenge space. So for the question cards, if a student lands on a question, they're going to have to answer the blue cards, which are in the shape of a ray. And it's just going to have, what is this? What's the definition of this? if they land on a draw card, they're going to pick up a purple line card, and it's going to be like, draw a line, draw this. And this game is meant to be played at the teacher table, so that way if students aren't like, oh, well, I can just look on the back to see the answer. No, they're going to be able to have the teacher right there saying, oh, you did this right. And then a challenge question was just get their brains kind of thinking a little bit extra about other things that they're going to be learning in the future or was integrated into another subject area. So that will also be put into this in this section. Then after that, we have our integrated activities, which is when you're taking mathematics and you're integrating into a social science class and a science class. For social science, they're learning about maps. And so to integrate mathematics and what they're learning throughout the Strand would be points and how I can use a point to mark a city in a state. And so there's a detailed explanation of what the students will be doing. And then this is a blank map that they will be giving. And then this is an end result, a completed sample of what the students will be creating, which is coloring in the states and then mapping with using points, the state capitals in another city in a state. For the science, they're going to be learning about the sun and how we get energy from the sun and how we get energy from the sun. And so this is when rays are going to be integrated into science. And again, teachers are like, so what exactly are we learning in math? What can I integrate into here? So that's what they're going to be learning about. And they're going to be creating the sun and then using rays and explaining just different facts about the sun with rays, because the energy from the sun starts at the sun and then goes on forever. But it ends here, but it goes on forever. So that will be that. And then after our integrated activities comes the lesson plan. In this lesson plan, it's a detailed explanation on this first page about what the teacher resources are, student resources, the SOLs, objective, which is given prompts on a quiz. The student will identify and draw representations of a point, line, line segment, and array, with 8 out of 10 identified and drawn correctly. And then it goes on to talk about the language demands, essential vocabulary, and then goes on into the set. And for the set, to integrate a literature activity into this, the teacher will be reading lines that wiggle, which just kind of gives students like, oh, this is what lines can do. Because for this lesson, they're going to be learning about lines, rays, and line segments, which are 3 different types of lines. And that's when the foldable will be used. So for this lesson, the previous day, they learned about points. Now they're learning about line segment, and rays. And then the next lesson will be about angles. So for the set, to integrate kind of a pre-assessment the teacher can take, oh, what did we learn about yesterday in mathematics? And then it goes on to explain the instruction and modeling of what will be going on. During this, students will get up and they'll be like, oh, show me a representation of what a line is. So they can put their arms like this. For a ray, they'll go like this and be like, ray to the right, ray to the left. That way it just gets students moving. And then for a point, it'll be this, and for a line segment, this. Because we're strong, and strong people are line segments. So again, an explanation of how a teacher would do this and what the students can put on their notes is provided with pictures. Also, the PowerPoint that will be used is provided as well. For the guided practice, which is also the formative assessment, students will be in pairs and there'll be pictures from their foldable as well as the definitions from the foldable. A picture of this can be seen on this page. And then we're going to lift up a stick that corresponds with the correct thing. So if it's a line, hey, it's a line, and they get to work on this with partners. And then for the independent practice, there's going to be 4 key vocab terms, and the students just need to draw what it looks like on a piece of paper and turn it in. And then will be the supporting students with special needs descriptions, the challenging above student description, how to facilitate a classroom learning environment, and then extension, which would be giving students another worksheet. But instead of just making a worksheet, because we don't like worksheets, they're going to use Wiki6 and create what the different line segments raise, even some parallel and perpendicular lines to give them kind of a glimpse at the bonus on their form or summative assessment. So again, just a couple explanations of the different types of assessments a teacher needs to use to assess students. An example of the pop quiz, which will not be given that day, but the next following day, where students are just going to be asked to draw what each thing looks like to integrate the draw representation from the SOL 3.11. So the big idea is today I will learn how to identify and draw examples of lines, line segments, and rays, so that I will be able to identify and draw examples of lines, line segments, and rays in 4th grade mathematics next year. I know you've got it when you take your quiz over lines, line segments, and rays. After that comes the different types of assessments, which description provided, The game itself, or the assessment itself, for the first formative assessment is tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row. So students need to pick 3 questions, diagonal, straight up and down, or side to side, answer them on a notebook sheet of paper, and turn that notebook sheet of paper in to see that they're understanding it for the teaching. Then it's going to be a Kahoot review game. Directions step by step of what the screen will look like for both the students and the teacher on the device is provided with pictures. This is just going to have review questions. This is kind of like what you do before the giant summative assessment the following class. Kind of like a Jeopardy game, what you'd play maybe in the classroom, but Kahoot style. So, explanation, and again, more pictures of what that would look like. And then the last is the summative assessment with an explanation. And then the summative assessment itself, which has a matching section where students match the picture to the key term and write the letter. A drawing section where students will draw an angle and identify the vertex. True and false section, a multiple choice section, and then a bonus section that could be up to 3 points where students will draw the relationships between lines, which could be intersecting, parallel, perpendicular, as well as an answer key is provided. Then after all of this is the references that I used throughout the lesson. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day.